Hey everyone, and welcome to our next assembly on honesty. Now last week you remember I was recalling the excitement of the new football season, well, the old football season that's been restarted, and it has indeed. And ironically, you remember last week I was talking about those people from the Bundesliga who were honest during a match and were commended for being honest when other people maybe would not have been. Well, this week, in one of the first matches, there was an absolutely fantastic example of when this could have happened, but didn't. So, here's a picture of what happened. Let me just make this even smaller so you can see. Sheffield United were playing Aston Villa. And Sheffield United scored because you can see there very clearly that the ball went over the line. In this picture, you can see that the goalie here can absolutely see that the ball is over the line. He's fallen into the net and the ball is behind the post. Everyone can see it there. But the referee, didn't see it, and he said the ball hadn't crossed the line. Now, what should this goalie have done? This goalie should have said, sorry, you've made a mistake. It did cross the line. It's very clear to see. But the goalie didn't. And the score remained 0-0. And the match remained 0-0. And what happened afterwards, there was a whole raft of complaints against the goalie. And I'm not surprised. What the goalie lost there, I think, was trust. What he lost was some integrity. He was being dishonest. He knew that ball had crossed the line. So that's the cost of not telling the truth. On the face of it, his team won in effect because they didn't get 1-0 down. But long term, he's lost a little bit of his integrity. And that actually can cost quite a lot. I want to think a little more about the cost of not telling the truth and of telling lies. And to consider this a bit further, I'm going to play you a short poem off YouTube by a French poet called Hilaire Belloc. Now, he wrote a lot of poems called cautionary tales, and they were written back many, many years ago in an attempt to try to teach children the right way to live, and in doing so, warning them of the dangers of doing things that were wrong. And this poem is all about a little girl called Matilda, who lied. And the cost of her lying actually was quite drastic. As you can see here, it's called Matilda, who told lies and was burnt to death. So hopefully, if you're not honest, your cost won't be quite as drastic as this. Have a little listen and see.
Matilda, who told lies and was burnt to death. Matilda told such dreadful lies, it made one gasp and stretch one's eyes. Her aunt, who from her earliest youth had kept a strict regard for truth, attempted to believe Matilda. The effort very nearly killed her, and would have done so, had not she discovered this infirmity. For once towards the close of day, Matilda, growing tired of play, and finding she was left alone, went tiptoe to the telephone, and summoned the immediate aid of London's noble fire brigade. Within an hour the gallant band was pouring in on every hand, from Putney, Hackney, Dowes and Bow. With courage high and hearts aglow, they galloped, roaring through the town. Matilda's house is burning down. Inspired by British cheers and loud, proceeding from the frenzied crowd, they ran their ladders through a score of windows on the ballroom floor, and took peculiar pains to souse the pictures up and down the house, until Matilda's aunt succeeded in showing them they were not needed, and even then she had to pay to get the men to go away. It happened that a few weeks later, her aunt was off to the theatre to see the interesting play, The Second Mrs. Tanqueray. She had refused to take her niece to hear this entertaining piece, a deprivation just and wise to punish her for telling lies. That night a fire did break out. You should have heard Matilda shout. You should have heard her scream and bawl, and throw the windows up and call to people passing in the street, the rapidly increasing heat, encouraging her to obtain their confidence, but all in vain. For every time she shouted fire, they only answered, little liar. And therefore when her aunt returned, Matilda and the house were burned.
So, poor old Matilda told lies and was burnt to death. Oops, bit drastic. But the point was that she told lies, and then when she actually needed people to believe her, to tell her the truth, they didn't. And she and her house were burnt down. Oh dear. Now, if I can get rid of this, then hopefully I can then show you just this PowerPoint to finish off the assembly today. So, honesty, telling the truth, explaining what really happened. And this actually really happened a little while ago. This is a guy called Philippe Quint. He was a famous violinist, and you can read there what happened. So check that out. The violin was worth £2 million. Can you believe it? And he left it in the back of a taxi. How do you think he felt? What do you think he would do? My goodness me, I think I would panic, considering it's not even mine. Wow. So, this is what happened. So unbelievably, the violin was left overnight in the back of a taxi. The taxi driver had no idea it was there. So this is then what happened. So actually, the cost of him being honest was that he got this reward, he got this special medal, and actually he gained a whole load of trust. And it's trust that I want to finish off by thinking about. So here, trust, belief that someone is telling the truth, and belief that someone is reliable so they won't let you down. What happens when people break or lose your trust? Now, people generally have their trust lost when they tell lies, when they're not honest. And I wonder if you can think of a time when someone has, you've given your trust to them and they've broken that. It feels pretty terrible, doesn't it? And have you ever lost someone's trust? How did that make you feel? So the cost often of not being honest is that your trust or the trust of someone else is lost. And although we can't count that in money, you can actually know inside how that feels. Think about all the people that you trust. Your family members, friends, staff in school, your parents, and who might trust you? Maybe your friends, maybe your little brother or sister. Trust is so important. So, to finish the assembly, I just want you to think, have a quiet moment of reflection and thinking about all those people that you trust. Think about all those people who trust you and actually how fragile that is. By being honest, you can keep that. And that, I would suggest, you can't measure in terms of money. It may not be worth £2 million, but it's a very precious thing. And to lose that would be pretty devastating. So, good week, everyone. and enjoy the rest of whatever you're doing today.